So I really love forward-thinking restaurant concepts. What's this one?
We cut it for you.
What does that mean?
It means we cut all your food for you, so you don't have to. We're combining smart Asian sensibilities with America's love of having everything done fast and easy.
All the food?
That's right, we cut it all for you.
So why not just chew it for me too while you're at it?
Because that would be stealing a premise from a 1970s SNL skit.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't stoop to that level with this bit.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hello, family, friends, fellow countrymen, global world travelers, and everybody out there. This is Glenn Hausman, and I want to thank you so much for listening to another episode of the No Vacancy podcast. I'm having so much fun doing this show, and it's a really exciting time for me. We're going to be amping things up soon. You're going to start to see a lot more video production from me, which I'm really excited about. I think it's going to complement this series of shows really nicely. So if you catch me out on the road, hey, maybe we can do a video together. Let me know. Follow me at Traveling Glenn, and I'm going to get you notified as to when new shows are posted and all the other exciting things that we are doing around here now at No Vacancy News. So, also, I want to be sure you guys are checking out Here to Stay TV. We should be getting ready to be a full-out launch on that pretty shortly. So I'm super duper excited about that one. And in that particular show, we focus all on extended stay, alternative accommodations, and where we're headed through great video interviews. And that's brought to you by bridgestreet.com. Also, be sure you like us on iTunes, because you know why. My ego here is at stake. I really can't handle you all not liking me on iTunes. I'm doing this for free. The least you could do is, hey, make me feel good about myself, because Lord only knows I don't get that when I'm here at home recording it all. All I get when I'm here at home, honestly, is, Daddy, do this for me. Daddy, do that for me. Hey, can you do this for me? Husband, why don't you go get me some water? Why don't you do this? Why don't you make dinner? Why don't you take out the trash? I can't handle it. It's too much. I want a little positivity in my life. And I turn to things like iTunes to see if anyone's leaving good 5-star reviews for me. But most of all, I want to thank Kevin Barry Fine Art for being such an amazing sponsor of mine. Soon we're going to be making a big announcement in regards to them, where you folks out there, one of you all, are going to be a big winner of something super duper exciting. But I'm not ready to reveal that quite yet. For the meantime, please check out kevinbarryfineart.com. Terrific art consultants, and they will make a big difference in your business. So I'm sitting here in my office, getting ready for what's going to be an exciting month ahead. Next week, I'm home. But the week after that, I'm going on a big trip. This past week, I was at a Hotel ROI in Charlotte. I got to spend a great day hosting that event. And one of the things I got to do that I thought was super duper awesome is it was on the campus in Charlotte of Johnson & Wales. So, their main campus is in Providence, but they've got a terrific campus with over 2,000 students that is in Charlotte. And Charlotte, North Carolina, great place. I got the opportunity to spend some time with Tarun Malik. He's the new president of Johnson & Wales. He started last spring in that position after being with the organization for a couple of decades over there. And I want to send him a big thank you, big shout out for taking me for some super duper great barbecue, because as you know, if it's not chicken and waffles, it's all about barbecue in my life. So I had a great chance to have that. Oh, it was so yummy, delicious. I think I'm still recovering from it a couple of days later. Hopefully I'll recover in time, because I got a lot of great speaking gigs. Make sure you come out and see me this fall. I will be, of course, at the lodging conference, and that's going to be exciting. Hopefully we'll see you all there. I'm going to be doing the general session panel with the C-suite folks, and that's going to be on November 1st. But on Halloween Day, I'm also going to be doing a social media panel, so that's going to be exciting. The week prior to that, I'm a keynote speaker at the Washington Hospitality Association. Really looking forward to getting out to Seattle and seeing the Tulalip Resort Casino, where they're going to be holding it. That should be fun. Then come November 9th, I will be at the Gaylord Opryland at the Best Westerns Annual Global Conference. I'm hosting a couple of general session panels there. That's going to be super exciting. And of course, even more exciting is I hope to get to my favorite barbecue joint in town over there, the Peg Leg Porker in downtown Nashville. Woo, woo, gotta love that place. Then come December, I'm going to be over at the Design Connections event. I'm looking forward to taking part in that, hosting a panel, and seeing a lot of my designer friends at that particular event. Now listen, hey, all these speaking gigs are great, but once they're gone, and I got to get some new ones. I'm saying to myself, guys, you're listening out there. A lot of you host events. Have me speak at your event. Why not? It'll be fun. I'll help reemphasize all the points you're trying to make. I'll deliver a great keynote speech. I can host the thing. I could even moderate panels, facilitate discussions, all of that kind of good stuff that's out there. So consider that. Drop me a line at Traveling Glenn or Glenn at Rouse, ROUSE.media, or just Google No Vacancy Podcast and you'll find a way to connect with me that way. So I want to talk a little today about the problem with loyalty. And it's more of a problem with loyalty with the airlines out there, not the hotel brands. I actually think loyalty from the hotel programs are starting to really mature and become pretty good. I know some companies out there are devaluing the value of their points in order to cash in nights. But overall, I think they're getting better at recognizing who I am as an individual and catering rewards that feature me. I'm a big fan of Best Western's rewards program, for example. I think they do a great job at recognizing who I am and delivering benefits that appeal to me specifically as a traveler. Also, I think the big issue that we're having out there right now when it comes to airline loyalty is that we're seeing a consolidation of the market that's gotten so serious that I think now the airline business is really an oligopoly. For those of you who don't know what that is, instead of it being a monopoly, an industry that's controlled by a single player. An oligopoly is a market that's handled by 3 or 4, and essentially the airline industry is almost a monopoly, at least in certain locations. So you kind of get screwed when you fly a lot of these airlines, and they're kind of like, we've got to be your, I want to be their friends, but they don't really want to be my friend. I almost feel like the airlines are too cool for school. Kind of like how I used to be sitting there in the playground hoping to get picked for the kickball team, but then I would always be last pick for the kickball team. It makes me feel very sad. That's how the airlines feel about me. They don't really want my business. They don't really care about my business, but they know I got to play ball, so I've got to join at some point, even if I'm the last one in and the least enthusiastic by them. They're still making their money. They don't really care, and it's only a problem that's getting worse. That's why when United had that great policy of beating up customers recently, I predicted that nothing would change. Nothing would happen. Everybody gets to get out there with their righteous anger and say, I'm never going to fly that airline again. Yeah, just try it when you're trying to leave Boise, Idaho. How many airline choices do you really have? None, or really just the one, which is the same as none. So it's really created an environment where they don't really have to care all about us, right? So while loyalty is supposed to be a two-way street, lately I'm feeling as if I'm stuck in the dead end. Well, especially when it comes to these airlines. It seemed like not so long ago that the airlines were really hungry for loyal customers, and they all developed great programs that made guests feel like they were important, special even, right? It was a solid appreciation for the folks that were delivering to them great business. But the truth is, I'm just not seeing that any longer. It's a real shame, and it's really an indication about how great the airlines have done at kicking out the competition, buying off the competition through consolidation, and then even more important, just figuring that they own you. I mean, they cut back their the amount of flights that they have per day after 9/11, for example, and then once again during the heights of the Great Recession. So they've got much better controls over how many people fly on any given day, or I should say the equipment that they use on any single given day. So that's why you see all these flights that are always super duper crowded, and they're making money hand over fist, charging you for every single little thing. I hate those airlines out there that have the nerve to charge you to print up a boarding pass and all of those kinds of things. But I don't want to get sidetracked too much. I want to talk a little bit about loyalty programs. To me, it really seems that these loyalty programs that we're seeing these days are being mirrored after the perception of the U.S. economy. Good for the 1%, but not so much for everybody else. Those at the top tier are going to continue to be fawned over, like Ryan Seacrest at the height of American Idol, interviewing a celebrity on the red carpet before the Oscars. But for us mere mortals, we're relegated to the cheap seats at the Razzies, right? Don't you feel that way sometimes? Not even a Brian Dunkelman is around to make us feel good. Oh, Brian, how amazing you made me feel in that first year of American Idol. Where did you go? What happened to you? Why don't you come back? Help us. Anyway, in the airline world, a strong travel economy, jam-packed airplanes like I mentioned, and good old-fashioned hubris are mixing with the imperative to constantly outplay Wall Street. And all of that together is fermenting a tasty stew that's leaving a foul taste in the average customer's mouth. So essentially, what's happening here is that need for the Wall Street dollar and improving year over year is helping the airlines focus more on the dollars that they make, not on customer service. So when combined with the whole oligopoly thing that's happening and the realization that they only have to treat, flyers as, something a little bit more than cargo, that's where it's starting to go for one. I'm left in a position of unrequited love for my airline that used to mean so much with me. It's really frustrating to me because I feel like the airline industry is really reinventing their loyalty programs that take a lesson right from Congress. Tell people how amazing the program is and how all of these new benefits are fantastic, but give them the exact opposite. For example, we got Citizens United, for example, which is anything but having Citizens United. Thanks, Congress. All that's done is made it so, Congress can be treated as individuals and buy off politicians even easier. You've got the Defense of Marriage Act, which is not helping marriage, but is really just an anti-LGBT kind of act. And then, of course, you've got the Affordable Care Act, which is, not affordable. And don't forget the impending Internet Freedom Act, which is geared towards creating a situation on the internet where it's not going to be free at all. They're going to charge you a lot more and cut off all of your benefits. So this is what's happening out there in the greater scope of things with the airlines. They go ahead and they have a program that they keep robbing you of benefits of, even as they try to tell you it's getting better and better and better. Whenever someone says it's more convenient, assume it's going to be less convenient. Whenever an airline tells you that that they're looking out more for you, realize they're looking out more for the you, meaning the Wall Street stockholder. So overall, in the last few years, a lot of the airlines have been switching from a program based on how many miles you fly in your butt to one that's really pegged to spending a specific amount of money. And that is starting to go up every single year. At one time, at my airline, I only needed 75,000 miles straight for platinum status. Then it was 75,000 miles for a couple of years plus a $7,500 spend. So that's effectively punishing me now for buying tickets ahead of time for the price they ask for when I want to do it, simply because I bought them in advance rather at the last moment, right? I'm so annoyed. It's killing me. I already know that I need to be in certain places at certain times. Every single year, for example, let's just say in March, okay? It's October now. Let me look ahead to March. I know that I'm going to be at the Hunter Hotel Investment Conference in March, right? So I'm going to buy those tickets earlier. I'm not going to buy them last minute. So what happens? I get them for a great price, those tickets, or let me put that in air quotes, a great price on those airline tickets. But because I'm spending less money, my business isn't as valuable to them, even though I'm on a plane every other week. It's driving me crazy, right? So now, most recently, my airline has now pushed up that threshold to $9,000, and they forced me into having to go get a credit card where I have to spend $25,000 a year in order to remove the dollar amount that I have to spend. So because there's no way I'm going to spend $9,000 a year on an airline, even if other people are buying me tickets, I'm just not going to do it. I buy these tickets in advance, right? So what's going to happen? What's going to happen there? Well, you know what? Now I got to get this stupid credit card, and I got the credit card, and I got to rack up $25,000 on in order to qualify. But God forbid now, airline, that I want to get diamond status next year. They are bumping it up from $25,000 to $250,000 so I can achieve diamond status without having to spend the money per ticket. So that's infuriating. That's insulting. It's just plain discussion. But overall, I know you're probably saying, oh, poor Glenn. He doesn't get to get his status as quickly and as easily. But no, you know what? The fact is, it's just so frustrating because it's to the point where I start to lose some of the little benefits that are really important to me. For me, it's really not about getting that first class upgrade, right? Although that's great. It's really about the convenience of getting through the airport quickly. But the fact is, overall, the benefits of one airline versus any other airline is none. Just none. Except, of course, if you start to figure in the employees. I happen to think that my airline of choice, the employees, each and every one of them, for the most part, is really super. But so while you have the people at the service level that are interacting with the customers do a great job, it's clear that upper management thinks my business is not worthy with them. I'm just a number. They don't really care about me as an individual. They don't care that I've been flying them loyally for 10 straight years, right? Even when I flew with them, well, it's even more than 15 years, even when I flew with them and I was still flying after 9/11 and I was still flying in the dark days of the recessions, right? I really want to remain loyal to you folks. And in fact, I'm very tempted because I've got an airport 15 minutes from my house that flies a competing airline. But unfortunately, it would mean always having to change flights pretty much wherever I go except Florida. So that's becoming less of a palatable thing for me. So I really got to ask you airlines out there, what is the compelling reason to stay with you and not switch to another airline? Oh, I know. There is no compelling reason, and there's no ability for me to switch to any other airline. So I guess you're just going to continue to, take my business. Not only that, but, you try communicating with these people on Twitter, and they just pretty much ignore you. Unless, of course, you have something positive to say about them. I think it's really great where, they just completely say nothing to you or just puppet back a lame line about how much they value my business and will pass along my concerns. Who are you passing my concerns along with to? The garbage can? That's probably right. And you're the same airline that continues to send me out a survey after every single flight I take. I can't stand your surveys. You don't read your surveys. You don't care about what I think. You're so stuck up in your own heads that you have no idea what's going on. In fact, I still fill out some of those surveys, but what I do when I fill out those surveys is I always say, are you reading this? I don't believe you're reading this, and I say lots of nasty things to them in the survey to try to get them to respond to me. Guess what? They don't, because they don't care. Nobody cares in the airline industry about how we feel except those poor schlubs working in the lower rungs of the business. And gosh darn it, I love you guys out there because you do make my experience better. But in the end, you know what? Maybe millennials do have it right. They don't really seem to be into the loyalty programs like previous generations, right? So perhaps the real problem that we're seeing right there is not that customers aren't really loyal anymore to companies, but companies are not really loyal to their customers, at least when it comes to the hotel business. So, I mean the airline business. Hotels, you do a great job. So the airline business, you could get your act together. Speaking of the airline business, now that I've totally decimated them, I want to say that the next piece that we have coming up is with a cool airline called XL Airways out of France. The reason why they're great is because they're not an American company. You American companies, you got to get your act together. So we speak to Laurent Magnin. He's, a great aviation specialist who started within the charter aviation business and is now the CEO of a major airline. And we'll talk about some of these issues and lots more issues. Before we go, remember a couple of things. Follow me at Traveling Glenn. Share the show with your friends, with your family, with strangers on the street. I don't care. Let's keep getting those numbers up and up every single month. I want to thank you so much for listening, and we'll be right back with a great interview right after this.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. And if you're like me, then I know that you love terrific art. Art that creates a sense of place. Art that tells a story of where you are. Art that adds a level of detail that you can't get anywhere else. And the great folks that do this, Kevin Barry Fine Art Associates. You can find them online at kevinbarryfineart.com, and I highly encourage that you check them out. One recent project that I'm totally in love with is the Fairmont, Washington, D.C., where they created a custom project with a local artist, and they created some of this on site. They actually created a multi-dimensional wall sculpture from gold blocks, which is an abstracted map grid of the Washington, D.C. area. It's got different elevations to it and looks absolutely fantastic. It was done along with Deborah Forrest and Amanda Jackson of Forrest Perkins, which is now Perkins Eastman. And they all work together to create this fabulous new look. So if you want to create a fabulous new look for your hotel, or if you just love great art, check out kevinbarryfineart.com or give them a call at 310-945-2655. Let them know Glenn sent you.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
All right, everybody. You know I love traveling, and staying in hotels is a great part of my life, but I have to get there wherever I go. And that means getting on an airplane and typically facing the indignities of flight and being treated like a second-class citizen. So I've been trying to get to the end of, get to the bottom of why people want to travel on these kind of airlines. And you know what? Forget that. I've just got a better way. And I've got somebody today who's trying to do airlines better, differently, more enjoyable, for a low cost, and will really make you happy. And that's Laurent Magnin, CEO of XL Airways. Laurent, how are you today?
Fine, because you know why? I'm in America.
Yes, you are. You are in New York today as we're talking, and I'm speaking to you all the way out from Long Island. Apparently, I just couldn't make it in there. So we're doing this interview from close, but yet so far. Laurent, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
I try to speak with you in English. It's very difficult because, I'm French.
Listen, and I am no good at French. I can't speak any French. I try. I have friends that speak French. I feel left out, and I'm terrible with French pronunciations because, I come from Jewish Hebrew kind of a background, and so I'm much better at sounding like anything where it sounds like I'm, coughing and having guttural throat sounds. Those I can do, So if at the end of this conversation you want me to throw around some Yiddish phrases or something, then I'm all up for that, Laurent. Okay? So
okay.
All right. So let's get into it. So I'm going to assume that XL Airways is not an airline for extremely overweight people, right? So it's not XL in terms of body type, but no, you're giving customers more. Is that kind of what the essential takeaway is?
The fight of XL always is to be the lower airline between America and Paris. Mm-hmm. Because what we discover finally in the last 10 years is it's incredible routes between America and France and no real competition, Mm-hmm. And this is the big fight for us because my favorite words for somebody who want to travel to between two countries, do you prefer to put your money in 8 hours of flight or in 8 days of hotel?
Right.
That's the real question,
It's tough, and as travel seems to be becoming more democratized for the average citizen, it's absolutely critical for us to have a lower cost alternative. Now, in my intro, I was kind of joking about how we're treated like cattle on airlines, but the truth is, even though the services have not been up to the standards that I think you and I and others would like, at least it's lowered the bar on pricing that gets people to travel, and I feel like that is the launching off point for what you're doing and changing the service around and trying to make it better. So tell me a little bit about the airline and, why we should be traveling from New York to Paris, for example, on it.
Yeah, the lower price between Paris and New York is $399 for around 20% of the seat sales on the year.
Wow.
And the rest of the time we try to be 10, 15, sometimes 20% less than the others, with a big fight for us in terms of competition. But another point which is very important for XL is the spirit is not exactly the spirit of the low cost to have a sort of naked flight, with nothing on board, and you need to pay everything if you move your fingers. Because for me, it's too complex for a lot of consumer. They discover on the TV an incredible price between 2 points. And when they move on internet and to try or in the travel agency to buy the ticket, they discover what? You need to pay dollars to buy the meal. You need to pay dollars to pay the luggage. And on the XL philosophy, the deal is to be the lower, but include a minimum of services. And for me, the meal on board is not a minimum of services. The people need a meal on board. It's not a medium haul 2 hours flight. It's 8 hours, 9 hours, sometimes 10 hours. You need to have something, and you don't need on XL Airways to pay for your meal. The luggage, same thing. I mean, one luggage is the minimum for each people when they travel, and we offer one luggage, one meal. That's the point compared to the other low cost, because I repeat, when you discover and consumer need to be very carefully today. You have publicity or advertising with price on many things, and finally, when you want to pay, you discover additional things, and finally, the price is sometimes more than, and many times more than XL Airways. This is my fight.
Yes. So how the thing that I don't understand is I'm always told that the airline industry is a super expensive business to be in, and it's why you see so much consolidation. It's why you see a lot of startups come and go over the years, at least here in the United States of America. How are you able to create a solution that doesn't just satisfy guests, but make sure you don't go out of business financially?
You will never with a solution. I mean, it's typically the industry in the history of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, you have old gambler and new gambler. The old gambler, they are pushed by the new gambler, and finally some old gambler becomes good because they are under pressure. Without pressure, they sleep.
Right.
You know that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's always the same thing, and it's not the head who sleep, it's all the company. I mean, the salaries, the head, everybody, unions, everybody sleep when they are comfortable on the monopoly. And when you have a new gambler, they move everything. That's the game. This is why we like the competition. But we need to be with a fair competition. And this is why I like to be in competition with the American Airlines, because we have the same value in terms of social things, social rules. You know, I'm not like a chairman of a Gulf airline who fired his stewardess when they are pregnant. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We are not in the same world. And this is why the competition with the American are always fair. And I like that, you know. And I'm against the people who are outside of our rules. That's, for me, it's an unfair competition.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. But it's fascinating to me that you came around in 2009 to start this airline in particular with long haul flights from Paris to New York, then followed by San Francisco, Miami, LA. That was a crazy year to start a business like this, especially transporting people in the depths of the Great Recession here in the United States. You are audacious, and what made you do it then?
Yeah, you know, I think that people feel, I mean, in this industry that the growth will continue incredibly.
Right.
First, because if we stay with the same pressure on the lower fare, we will push a lot of people to travel. And don't forget something which is very important in terms of philosophy in this world. I mean, more we travel, more we stop the war.
Yes.
Don't forget that.
No.
This is why I'm proud to be the chairman of an airline. Because I remember, you know, I'm 57 years old. Mm-hmm. My parents was concerned by the Second War in Europe, you know, against the German. And to the German are brother. You know why? Because we have no border between us. Right. And we travel on each country like our country. And it's exactly the same feeling with the American and Europe on the last century. We have no war between us because we travel all time. Do you know many people who travel in the north of Korea? No. Okay? That's the reality. When you don't travel, you are in situation of war or no understanding of each other. And we in the airline business, we have a role on that to carry the people with a lower price.
Yes, you absolutely do. And I think it's a really fundamental calling of all people that they should go out there and travel. And a lot of you guys listening to this interview right now understand exactly what Laurent is saying. I've never met anybody that maybe goes into a situation where they have negative feelings about a country or its people, then sit down, fly there, have a meal with those people, get to know those people, and then feel the same way about it. If we could break down those barriers through travel, I think that's the best way for all of us in humanity to kind of get together and understand we really are exactly the same thing at the end of the day. Just people that want to, raise families and make sure their kids are more successful than they are. Right, Laurent?
Absolutely. This is why some little airline who try to grow, in terms of competition, why we fight against the bigger. It's not against the bigger. It's because when the bigger becomes too big, they sleep. That's all. Right. And when they sleep, they increase the price. That's the reality. I mean, the competition disappear with the alliance. And it's normal because, as usual, like everybody, we work to be profitable. That's making sense in our industry, and it's fair to be profitable because when you are profitable, it's good for everybody. I mean, the people who work for your company, the people who work with you, and everybody. But the thing is, when you are completely in sort of alliance and monopoly, you increase the price because you sleep. You don't make effort to produce the best price for your consumer. And in this case, the consumer, they need what? The new gambler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we are the new gambler.
Yeah.
That's clear and loud.
Yeah, loud and clear. And you guys are really taking a stake. So how do you compete in the United States against these major airlines that have already been here for years and years and years? Traditionally, it's been harder for upstart airlines to be successful. I've seen a lot of airlines, for example, come and go that have flown between New York and London, New York and Paris. But here you are, you've been here already flying that long-haul route since 2009, finding success. What are you doing differently that's making it financially feasible for you to be successful and to be continuing to add new routes, which we'll talk about after this?
I think the first point between America and Europe with a very strange feeling is we feel that finally the American airlines were really concerned by your internal market, amazing fight between you inside the country,
right,
because it's a country with a size like Europe,
Mm-hmm.
And finally, you are not really concentrate on the relation with the rest of the world in terms of long haul, like you fight inside your country between your different airlines, And finally, when you are French, you have you can take a position in this game with your country, with your offer between the two countries, and if you look XL Airways today in New York, we have one flight a day with a 400 seats
mm-hmm.
plane compared to some American airlines who use plane with 200 or 250 seats. To be clear, it's not a too difficult competition, and it's good for the consumer.
Yeah, more competition is always good for the consumer.
The danger between us come more, and we are against that in France and in America.
Right.
If you look a country who vote twice against Europe, and I don't give you the name, but they come like a European airline. No, but they are not a European airline.
Right.
Don't forget something. At 20 years old, I vote for Europe, for a strong Europe
mm-hmm.
with a strong partnership with America or Asia, all these things, okay?
Right.
And I never give the power to my politics to give the permit to a country on the border of Europe who vote against Europe to have the same capacity and the same freedom than a European airline or an American airline inside our open sky.
Right. Yeah.
Some guys, they vote against Europe. They stay out. We don't care. On my point of view, in this case, if everything is free, no problem. In this case, I want to buy the Korean car, not North, South Korea.
Yes. Yeah.
But I want to buy a Korean car without tax, and we stop to protect Volkswagen, Peugeot, Renault, all the brand in Europe. In this case, if you don't want to protect your carriers of people who have not the same rules, I have no debate with the American Airlines. They are social like us. They follow rules, and the unions know that. Our unions, we follow the same road. We don't fire the pregnant stewardess. Don't forget that. That's a very important point. Okay? We have unions. Some airlines against us have no unions. They have no social policy.
Right.
I mean, when I buy a car in Europe, I want to buy a car with somebody who are happy with his business, not on the opposite of the country and without social rules. That it's making sense. No?
Yeah.
You don't think?
No, I think that that absolutely makes sense, and it's a fascinating point of view. And I'm sitting here thinking about a couple of things. You should think about maybe getting a North Korean car in your life. I think that would be great. I think they just ship you an
Not
ox.
North Korean, South
No,
Korean.
well, I'm saying
North Korean. They produce just the bomb, no car.
No, the car that they have is basically just an ox. That's what I'm getting at. You could just go for an ox ride there. And secondly, I'm thinking about I love lower fares. I love ease of travel, but it's amazing to me that you don't have a lot of headaches at night worrying about being successful. But I guess if you're expanding, you're finding lots of success because you're able to make a nice profit on each single flight that you do because you're only flying that one time a day with 400 people, for example, going from New York to Paris. Does that all make sense to you?
For me, to move on this concept, I mean, to fight on these routes, need to be inside a fair competition.
Yes.
I mean, that's I'm not fascinated by the Gulf airline for one reason. Where is their unions? Where is their social rules?
Right.
I can receive lessons from these guys. It's exactly when in the middle of Asia sometimes. Remember the problem of Apple a few years ago.
Right.
They discovered that some kids of 14 years old build the phone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was the answer of Apple? It will be difficult to have a strong image if we have no social rules about our capacity to produce something well for the consumer. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Same thing in the airline business. I'm close of the American airline and the union of the American airline. It's unacceptable that we receive lessons for people who have not the same rules like us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a message.
Yeah.
And people need to support this message because when you are a consumer, you can be on the Monday on the street to obtain your rights to have a work, to have a job, to have a decent social rules, and on the same day to buy a ticket to an airline who have not this philosophy to protect their people inside the company. Okay?
Yeah, that's great. And I think that your mission plays along with societal trends that we're
I'm
seeing.
a missionary.
Yes,
I'm a missionary.
Yes, where people. Well, you're spreading the gospel, one flight at a time, Laurent. But I think what the point I'm trying to make is that we're shifting in society right now, and we're people and consumers in particular here in the United States, and I'm sure globally, are looking to only do business with companies that they feel are ethical, people that take care of the environment, companies that take care of the people.
This is the future of the world.
Yes.
We have no choice. An airline, it's not just a price. An airline needs to be a spirit.
Except if you're Spirit Airlines, they need to completely change whatever they're doing. I do not like it. Sorry, Laurent. Continue.
I'm proud of one thing.
Yes.
I'm chairman on the last 10 years. I was in another French airline, a sales director in the past during 25 years. And my chairman position is on the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, no strike. Okay? Mm-hmm. And don't forget something, I'm French. And in France, you have a strike every 3 months.
Every single time I'm in Europe, there's a strike. Okay. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
That's sometimes a problem. But to be clear, to be 10 years with my team, with my staff without strike, because we talk when we have a problem, because we are close when we need to fight against the others, that's the philosophy. That's the deal.
Nice. I love it. Now, one other thing that I'm curious about is I do want to talk about the new routes that your stuff that you're doing, but I'm hung up on this part of the conversation in regards to airlines being ethical, which leads to more people traveling, which leads to understanding new cultures, which creates a higher probability of love. Now, one of the things that have limited you was sometimes there just aren't enough hotel rooms in your market, but opening things like Airbnb has created a lot more opportunities and opened up capacity for you to kind of sneak in and bring people over. Are you finding that the Airbnb customer is more aligned with the type of customer you're bringing to XL Airways?
Yeah, definitely. Airbnb changed the rules.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure of that. I mean, and it's always the same thing. The hotels, they don't disappear. They need to adapt. They need to change. But one thing is clear as usual, we need little bit rules. I mean, if Airbnb move without the same responsibilities that the guys who paid people to work in the hotel, we have a problem. We need to adapt the rules to the new economy every day.
Absolutely.
Or we broke.
Yes.
We broke too quickly the past, and the question is not to broke the hotel industry. It's not the deal, never, because we need that. But the thing is we need to adapt and to make the business more comfortable in terms of rules. But definitely, to increase our BNB is an enormous answer to the capacity to grow, to travel for many people, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting point of view. And
I was with my family in the last summer in Edinburgh, in Scotland, with Airbnb in Edinburgh in an incredible apartment for a lower price. And it was absolutely great. And I met the guys who are the owners of the apartment, the very nice guys. You have a relation with the people in the cities. It's a nice idea, but need to be more controlling to protect a little bit the hotel industry before the final adaptation of all these things.
Yes,
but we need Airbnb to continue to grow.
Right, and you're absolutely right, Laurent.
And to travel.
Yes, and here in the United States in particular, the hotel industry and the American Hotel and Lodging Association has taken the point that, they're competition, but they need to compete fairly. And we're seeing a lot of jurisdictions now within the United States work to create rules that put everybody on the level playing field, including issues like fire safety and taxes and the staffing issues that you're talking about. So I find it becoming much, much more prevalent right now, and more people are starting to find that it's an interesting experience to have, myself included, which is kind of a scary thing since I make my whole living focused on the hotel industry.
Don't forget something about the hotel industry. It's exactly that the airline industry. On the last 20 years, a part of the hotel, they sleep to take care of their consumer. Don't forget that, okay? Yep. All the deal is not to say, oh my God, Airbnb, it's a disaster. No, it's not the truth. Airbnb is a chance for the hotel industry to move faster on the quality and to reduce the cost sometimes to are accessible for the consumer. But it's always an answer, and they need to answer. And finally, what will be the situation probably in 10 years? I mean, the best quality on the hotel industry everywhere.
Right.
It could be the answer, and they need to have this answer.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely true. All right, last issue I want to discuss with you today. First, I want to say my feelings are hurt, Laurent, because you're starting this flight from New York to Tel Aviv, but I didn't know, and you didn't have it when I was there last month. I would have loved to have taken your airline. So, it's a shame I didn't have that chance to do it. So why are you flying New York to Tel Aviv? You're a French airline. Seems a little bit unusual to me.
Because I repeat, we feel, and I like that, we feel a sound between the three cities, New York, Paris, and Tel Aviv. We have a huge community of people between the three places. And I believe one thing concerning Israel, and it's a clear and loud message. We need to open Israel more than that today with the conflict that we have in this part of the world. I mean, and we need traveling between these points because, France, particularly France, we have a strong relation with the Arabs and all these countries all around Israel, with a difficult position for us politically. Yes. You know that. And I believe that we need to be more open and put the people to travel between the cities, and Israel need to be more open than today, and need to be concerned by the low cost to traveling. That's clear and loud.
Right. Beautiful. I wish you a lot of success with that. And the next time I do go back to the motherland, I'm definitely going to look at flying with XL. Before we wrap up, any other final thoughts that you'd like to add, sir?
No, just one thing. My favorite record shop of vinyl record shop was in bankruptcy in New York, and I'm sad of that. I need to find another. If somebody have an idea, you can send me a message. Okay.
I love that. All right. So are you on Twitter or any other piece of social media where people could send it to you directly? If not, you could just send me notes to glenn@rouse.media, and I will make sure that Laurent gets the message.
No, you are my only media in America. Don't forget that. Okay.
I love your sweet lies. This is coming from a man who just had a big press conference in front of media.
It's just a sweet lie.
Yes.
I agree. Okay.
I like it. I believe it. I'm going to be flying XL Airways. Make sure you find XL Airways at xl.com. Laurent, thank you for being here today. And
Absolutely.
Thanks to all of you guys for listening today.
Thanks.
And hey, listen,
Goodbye.
I will be back next week, unless, of course, I decide to hop a flight to Tel Aviv on XL Airways. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.
Waiting for you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at TravelingGlenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.